The silence of the galaxy was shattered by a cryptic transmission, one that the Galactic Council had dismissed years ago as a relic of the past. The message came from the human frontier, a faint, crackling signal carrying a chilling tone of defiance. Humanity has returned, and we are ready to fight. It was brief, and it was enough. Captain Lysandra Voss stared at the transmission on her command screen, the words echoing in her mind. She was an unlikely messenger, one of the few surviving veterans of the war against the Zethri Empire. Their species had been all but eradicated, their cities burned, their fleets decimated. Yet here it was, a message of resistance from the humans. In the last few years, there had been rumors, whispers in the dark of humanity's uncanny ability to survive impossible odds. But no one had dared to believe them. How is this possible? Lysandra muttered to herself as she leaned forward in her chair, her worn fingers tapping against the console. Corin Tlar, the coldly calculating head of the Galactic Council, had already received the signal. His silver-scaled face remained stoic, but beneath the surface, he was unnerved. The Zethri had been tasked with extinguishing humanity after their failed rebellion, but it appeared that the humans had not only survived, they had regrouped. "Prepare for immediate recon," Lysandra ordered. "I'm going to find out how they did it." Her team, the remnants of an ancient human fleet, was scattered across the galaxy, dispersed in small units. They were survivors, and now they were about to face the greatest test of their lives. The Council was skeptical but eager to know if humanity's return was a fluke or a dangerous new power. In the corridors of the Council, whispers grew louder. Humans, the defeated, had somehow discovered a new way to fight. The human fleet, once small and scattered, was already a growing force. With each passing day, they seemed to be getting bolder, more organized. The faint transmission, though brief, was only the beginning of something much larger, and the galaxy was bracing for the next move. What exactly had they discovered? And more importantly, what would happen when humanity's courage and resilience met the full force of the Galactic Council? Lysandra's mission was clear: she would find out firsthand, no matter the cost. As her ship, the Legacy, began its journey toward the human settlement, the crew, battle-worn veterans like herself, prepared for what lay ahead. The stakes had never been higher, and as the stars stretched before them, Lysandra knew this mission could reshape the future of the galaxy. What she didn't know was that this was only the beginning of a much larger story, one that would forever change the way the galaxy viewed humanity. Lysandra Voss' ship, the Legacy, entered the outskirts of the human settlement known as Haven, a small but resilient colony on the edge of the Zethri Empire's former domain. From space, Haven looked like any other colony, a network of domed cities and satellite structures. But there was something different about it. The space station buzzed with an almost palpable energy, and as Lysandra's team descended through the atmosphere, a sense of dread crept over her. "Prepare for landing. Stay alert," she commanded, watching the activity on the surface through the ship's observation window. The humans had no formal military presence, at least none that was visible, yet Lysandra had heard the rumors of human warriors who never retreated, never surrendered. She needed to see it for herself. The moment her boots hit the ground, Lysandra was greeted by a striking sight. There were no grand banners or celebrations. Instead, the colonists moved in silent, coordinated efforts. Children, adults, and elders alike all participated in some way, whether it was working in the fields, repairing equipment, or manning the stations. "Captain, you're not going to like this," Corin Tlar's voice crackled through her communicator. "We've found something unusual." Lysandra's stomach tightened. "What is it?" "We've located an artifact from an ancient human war, a weapon unlike any we've encountered before. It's giving off strange energy signatures, and we've identified traces of old Earth technology. It's too precise to be a mistake." Lysandra clenched her jaw. "I'll be there shortly. Get ready for anything." As she approached the location, she could feel the tension in the air. The humans weren't overtly hostile, but there was an underlying current of caution, even in the face of her military stature. It wasn't fear. It was something else, something foreign. As she stepped into a secluded facility, she saw the artifact for herself, a massive structure, half buried beneath the earth, with strange markings carved into its metallic surface. The device hummed faintly, its energy crackling with untold power. "This is where it started," a grizzled human officer named Jonah Parker muttered as he stood next to the artifact. His face was lined with age, but his eyes burned with a fire Lysandra could recognize, unshakable determination. Lysandra's brow furrowed. "What is this thing?" "It's an old Earth weapon, but modified. We've been building it for years. It harnesses a form of energy that even the Zethri never understood. We didn't build it to fight them, we built it to never be conquered again," Jonah said, his voice firm but tinged with an almost nostalgic reverence. Lysandra's eyes narrowed. The humans had been hiding something, and whatever it was now their key to survival. "You think this is a one-time use?" Lysandra asked, her tone skeptical. Jonah shook his head. "This is only the beginning. We've been planning for this day since the Zethri obliterated our home worlds. You see, humanity doesn't know defeat. We endure. We adapt. And now, we're ready to show the galaxy what that really means." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them, and a shrill siren blared across the colony. "Warning!" a voice echoed over the loudspeakers. "The Zethri fleet has entered the system. They have brought reinforcements." Lysandra felt the hair on the back of her neck rise. This was the moment. Humanity's hidden strength would be tested. She turned to Jonah, whose face remained calm, even as the colony sprang into action. "We'll fight them together," he said simply. Lysandra nodded, though she couldn't shake the feeling that this was a pivotal moment. If humanity's weapon truly was as powerful as they claimed, the Zethri might soon learn exactly what it meant to face a species that had never, ever known defeat. As the ground shook once more, signaling the arrival of the Zethri, Lysandra knew the galaxy was about to witness something they would never forget. The humans were no longer just survivors. They were about to become the galaxy's greatest threat. The air was thick with tension as the warning sirens blared throughout Haven. Lysandra stood with her arms crossed, watching the flurry of activity below. The humans moved with a sense of purpose, each individual taking their place in the defense of their colony without hesitation. There was no panic, no uncertainty, only an unwavering determination. The Zethri, with their superior technology and vast fleets, had underestimated humanity's resilience, and they were about to find out just how wrong they were. Lysandra's communicator buzzed. "Captain, we've just received intel. The Zethri fleet is already in orbit and preparing to attack. They'll send their first wave of fighters within the hour." She turned toward the command center where Jonah Parker was coordinating the defense efforts. The artifact, now fully activated, hummed with a low, otherworldly vibration, a stark contrast to the hurried commands being shouted around the room. "Any sign of their lead ship?" Lysandra asked. Jonah nodded grimly. "It's massive. A dreadnought, fully equipped with energy weapons and shielding that's nearly impenetrable. But," he paused, eyes narrowing, "we've got something they haven't seen before." Lysandra tilted her head in confusion. "What are you talking about?" Jonah gestured toward the weapon. "That thing you see? It's not just a weapon. It's a generator. It feeds our entire defense grid, every shield, every weapon, every system. When it powers up, it amplifies our firepower 1,000-fold. We've spent years refining it. The Zethri won't know what hit them." Lysandra's skepticism wavered for the first time since she'd landed. She could feel the pulse of the energy from the device. It was unlike anything she had encountered in her years of service. The humans had unlocked something truly extraordinary. "Then let's see if it works," Lysandra said, her voice steady. The first Zethri fighters appeared on the horizon, their sleek, silver forms cutting through the sky at impossible speeds. The humans weren't caught off guard. Fighters scrambled into the air, and anti-air turrets came online, firing in perfect synchronization. The once quiet colony erupted into the chaotic hum of battle. The Zethri's ships unleashed a barrage of plasma fire, but the human shields held. The attackers regrouped for another assault, this time aiming directly for the artifact that powered their defenses. "Lock onto their lead ship," Jonah commanded. "We take out their flagship, and the rest will scatter." Lysandra felt a chill of anticipation as she watched the humans fire. Energy beams crackled through the air, slamming into the Zethri fighters with a force that sent them spiraling toward the ground. In the chaos, one fighter broke away from the pack and made a beeline for the artifact. "Incoming!" a voice yelled. Lysandra's heart skipped a beat. The fighter shot toward the artifact at breakneck speed, its weapons primed to destroy. Without thinking, Lysandra sprinted toward the launch platform, her hand on the edge of the nearest control panel. She shouted into her communicator. "Activate the defense grid, now!" Jonah's voice came back, a mix of urgency and calm. "Already on it. Brace yourself." A bright flash erupted from the artifact, followed by a shockwave of energy that blasted the incoming fighter into oblivion. The fighter's remains fell to the ground in flaming pieces, but the energy from the artifact kept surging, fueling the defense systems. The Zethri dreadnought entered firing range. Lysandra watched in awe as the humans' weapon systems locked on and fired. A massive, concentrated burst of energy struck the dreadnought's shield, and for the first time in history, the Zethri flagship's energy field flickered. The Zethri responded with a barrage of concentrated plasma fire, but the human shields, now bolstered by the artifact's power, absorbed the blow. Lysandra felt the weight of this moment. This wasn't just a defense, it was a declaration. Jonah's voice broke through the chaos. "Prepare for the final assault. We're going to hit them where it hurts." The humans were fighting with a quiet ferocity that Lysandra couldn't ignore. The Zethri had brought their might to the battlefield, but the humans were not just defending, they were pushing back. And as the final battle loomed on the horizon, Lysandra knew that the galaxy was watching as humanity showed what it meant to be truly undefeatable. The first wave of attackers was scattered, but the battle had only just begun. The humans had set the tone, and now, it was time for the Zethri to feel the full force of humanity's indomitable will. The sky was ablaze with the remnants of battle, a haze of smoke and fire filling the air as the last Zethri fighters retreated into the dark void of space. The humans' fleet stood resolute, battered but unbroken, their ships hovering like sentinels over Haven. The dreadnought had fallen, its once pristine hull now scarred and fractured, its shields finally overwhelmed by the relentless barrage of human ingenuity. Lysandra stood on the observation deck, watching the remnants of the Zethri forces fade into the distance. The victory was hard-earned, and the cost had been steep. The colony had taken damage, and while the humans had shown incredible resilience, the scars of the battle would remain. Jonah Parker stood beside her, his face drawn with exhaustion but lit by the quiet pride of a leader who had just seen his people prove their worth. The artifact hummed steadily in the background, its energy reserves dangerously low after powering the entire defense system. It had worked, but the cost of sustaining that kind of energy would need to be addressed. "We did it," Lysandra said softly, the words carrying a weight of disbelief. "We actually did it." Jonah nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "They thought they could break us. Thought they could defeat us. But that was their mistake. We're not like the other species in this galaxy. We don't give up. Not ever." Lysandra took in a deep breath, her eyes scanning the aftermath of the battle. There was a lingering sense of triumph, yes, but also a growing realization that this fight was only the beginning. The Zethri had underestimated humanity, but that wouldn't be the last time they'd come. Others would follow, rivals, conquerors, and opportunists who would test the humans again. And the next time, it could be worse. "You're right," she said, her voice thoughtful. "The Zethri might have been the first to feel humanity's strength, but they won't be the last." "What happens now?" Jonah gave a slight smile, though it was tired, worn from the weight of leadership. "Now we rebuild. We train. We prepare. And next time, we'll be even stronger." The war might have ended in victory, but the galaxy was far from safe. The Zethri had learned a powerful lesson, and the other species watching from the shadows had learned it too. Humanity had proven that they could stand against the greatest forces in the universe and emerge victorious, not because they were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they refused to accept defeat. "We've already shown the galaxy what we're capable of," Jonah continued. "Now we make sure they remember." Lysandra turned away from the view, her eyes meeting his with a newfound respect. The humans were more than a species of warriors. They were survivors, builders, and innovators. They would rise to whatever challenge came next. Because that's what humans did. They adapted. They overcame. And they fought. "I think they'll remember," she said quietly, her tone full of certainty. "And I think they'll fear us. Not just for our strength, but for our spirit." Jonah glanced over at her, the same fierce resolve that had driven him throughout the battle reflected in his eyes. "That's the real weapon. The one the Zethri never counted on." As the colony settled into a tentative peace, the humans began to rebuild, not just their infrastructure, but their legacy. Their reputation would spread, from one corner of the galaxy to the other. The stories of their victory would become legends, and humanity's indomitable will would echo in the stars, reminding everyone who dared to challenge them, humans don't know defeat. The war had ended, but the legacy of this battle would last for generations. And in the quiet aftermath of the fight, humanity stood tall, its resolve unshaken, its future brighter than ever before.